You ever have one of those days where you wake up thinking you're just gonna mow the lawn, maybe tinker a bit in the garage, and next thing you know, you're locked in a battle royale with a bunch of HOA sociopaths who think the rules are more important than common decency? Yeah, welcome to my life. I swear, if you'd told me a year ago I'd be standing in my driveway with police lights flashing off the fender of my cherry red F-100, blood pounding in my ears, while the queen of the HOA wept crocodile tears about how I'd threatened her, I would have laughed you off my property. But that's exactly how it started. And let me tell you, it got a whole lot wilder before it was over. See, that truck isn't just a truck. It's a monument to my stubbornness to friendship, and to about 3 years of skinned knuckles and Saturday afternoons spent with my best buddy Jake, wrenching on something most people would have sent to the scrapyard. It's a '72 Ford F-100 rebuilt from nothing but rust and memory, and the day I saw a master key jammed into the lock, my heart pretty much dropped right out onto the concrete. I don't care who you are, someone tries to mess with your baby, your brain just short circuits. And who do I find there, key in hand like she's the damn sheriff in her own Western Karen? President of the local HOA, armed with a clipboard and a smugness you'd need a backhoe to dig out. Right next to her is Richard, her husband, arms folded, looking at my truck like he's already picturing it in his own beige garage. This vehicle is in violation of Article 7, Section C. Karen says not even bothering to make eye contact. It's improperly parked and not a permitted family vehicle. I look at my truck. It's in my driveway. My driveway. I try to keep my cool. 10 years of MP training taught me that sometimes it's better to whisper than shout, but inside, man, I am boiling. Their whole thing was about how my truck with its oversized tires wasn't family friendly. She tried to shove that master key in again, and let me tell you, she bent it good. The sound of metal groaning is one of those things that just hits you in the gut. Then, as if to punctuate her point, she slams her clipboard into the fender, leaving a white scratch on my perfect paint. I damn near lost it, but I didn't. That's the game with these people. Push you until you break, then play the victim. And right on cue, Karen's on her phone dialing 911. Voice suddenly trembling as she tells the dispatcher she's being threatened, cornered by a large, aggressive man. Richard starts nodding along, acting like I'm Godzilla. What they don't know is 2 weeks ago, after someone let the air out of my tires, I installed cameras that record both video and audio. I just stood there, arms crossed, letting the whole scene play out for the world to see. Cops roll up, one young, one old, both with the look of men who'd seen way too many HOA disputes go off the rails. Karen runs to them with her best damsel in distress routine, but when I calmly offer to show the footage, the air goes out of the drama real quick. The older officer watches my phone twice and then gives Karen a look colder than a January windshield. "Ma'am, what you did was file a false police report," he says, voice flat. "That's a crime." She sputters about being president of the association, but she's cuffed and in the back of the car before she can finish. And Richard, he just stands there looking like someone stole his lunch. You'd think that'd be the end of it, big win, right? But nope. As I'm brushing my hand over that new scratch, I see it a notice tucked under my wiper blade, post-dated for tomorrow. $1,000 fine plus a threat to remove my truck in 24 hours. It was all premeditated. I could feel the gears grinding behind Karen's painted-on smile. They weren't done, not by a long shot. Let me back up a sec. This didn't all happen overnight. The neighborhood had been brewing under the weight of these two for years. When I moved in, all I wanted was a little peace, a garage, some space, and neighbors who minded their own business. First 6 months were golden, but then came the notices. Too long grass, trash cans out too late, noise violations because I dared listen to Tom Petty in the afternoon, death by 1,000 HOA paper cuts. Karen ran the show, Richard controlled the money, and together they'd slowly squeeze the life out of the place. My neighbor Louis, a retired mailman with a garden full of tacky gnomes, became my window into the madness. He'd tell me stories, swing sets, torn down doors, repainted fines for everything from lawn ornaments to the wrong shade of mulch. Louis got fined for his gnomes $20 a pop. 53 gnomes. Do the math. It was all about control, conformity, and wringing every ounce of individuality out of the place. My truck was the last holdout of non-beige rebellion. And Richard hated it, maybe because it reminded him of something he couldn't have, or maybe just because it was mine. When Karen tried to take it, I realized they weren't just looking to enforce the rules, they were running a scam. I dug in, pulling property records, cross-referencing fines, seeing homes flipped to an LLC Chestnut Holdings, shell company, out-of-state registration. And every time someone finally gave up, that same company snatched up their home for pennies. The thread led right back to Richard, who collected the mail for Chestnut Holdings at a P.O. box nearby. Karen provided the terror, Richard did the laundering. It was a racket, plain and simple. And then things escalated. Tire slashed, security camera footage catching a shadowy figure with a gold watch. Richard's watch. These weren't just fines and threats anymore. This was war. Time to fight fire with fire. I cooked up a plan straight out of the MP playbook, lure them in, get them talking, catch them in their own web. With Louis as my distraction, gnome to grass ratio, anyone my old army buddy S did some quiet information retrieval from the enemy's house. Inside the files, every shady bank transfer, every piece of correspondence, every payout to the city councilman Arthur Vance, who'd been feeding Richard inside info about a coming highway project so they could buy up the homes before the news broke and property values spiked. This was way bigger than I'd guessed. We're talking RICO-level fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. For a minute I sat with it. Do I nuke my own life to bring them down, go to the police, or just make a deal, let them off if they leave me, Louis, and the other victims alone? I could have done it too. But that scratch on my fender was like a red flag. Jake would have wanted me to see it through, not just for myself, but for everyone these vultures had chewed up and spit out. So I set the final trap. For sale sign on the truck, $10,000 price tag to lure in Richard's greed. Neutral location, hidden cameras. Louis on lookout, S handling tech. When Richard and Karen showed up, briefcase of cash in hand, I laid the proof on the table and told them to call Vance. Got all three in one room, let the panic boil, then pressed record. And wouldn't you know it, Richard, cornered and sweating, bragged about everything. About slashing my tires, about plans for accidents, about how I was too much trouble, and how they had ways of handling people like me. That's when Louis burst in, gnome in hand, babbling about a counteroffer, just as the room exploded into chaos. Richard lunged. Karen grabbed a letter opener. Vance made a break for the door, and S, cool as a mountain stream, stepped in and kept everyone from losing an eye. Police arrived right on time, Louis' call guns drawn, scene frozen. I handed over the video. Every confession, every threat, every fraudulent transaction caught on tape and backed up off-site. Slam dunk. Richard 15 years. Karen 5. Vance 7. Restitution paid, company seized. HOA dissolved. Louis, good old Louis, ended up as president of the new board. His first act, Article 1, leave each other alone. I fixed my truck the very next day, painted over the scratch, and let the V8 purr under the sun, sweet as ever. But here's the real question, was justice really served? I did what I had to do, yeah. I pushed back. But this kind of thing, these little tyrannies, these power-hungry neighbors, they're everywhere. I found peace not in some rule book or committee, but by standing my ground. And now I gotta ask, what would you have done? Where's the line between fighting for your home and letting it all slide? Share your take below, right or wrong. What would justice look like on your street? Because I'll tell you what, sometimes justice is just a guy in his truck, and that's enough.